33 or of 36 states in Nigeria are currently experiencing flooding. Minister of State for Disaster and Humanitarian Affairs says 500 flood casualties have been recorded, 90,000 homes partially and totally destroyed, and 70,566 hectares of land submerged. Many of the affected states are food-producing ones. A pointer that Nigeria will experience acute food shortages if the federal and state government mitigation plans are not properly implemented. This is our focus on Panorama from Port Harcourt Network Center. I am Gabriel Amuniki. Stay tuned. You can also watch this live broadcast on the social media handles being displayed on your screen. Preparatory to the Global Climate Change Conference in Egypt, Minister of Environment Mohammed Abdullahi says Nigeria will build partnership to help its emission reduction targets, address adaptation, mitigation, and financing for energy transition plans. Onyengiye Fineface reports.
Global climate has been changing with devastating effects as a result of human activities. Extreme weather events are impacting the world in no small measure, and Nigeria is hard hit with floods in more than 30 states. In a few weeks, the world will gather in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, to pursue actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, fueling climate change. Nigeria will participate with a low emissions vision, energy transition plan, emission trading scheme, climate change act, and a national action plan setting the pace for a carbon trading framework.
The country's COP27 priorities will focus on exploring options for climate finance and building partnerships that will drive the country's emissions reduction ambitions, adaptation, and climate change mitigation. The focus will be a sustainable funding mechanism that drives nature-based solutions such as land restoration, reforestation.
Nigeria will also be part of the Leaders Summit, hold bilateral meetings and green investment forums at COP27 in Egypt. Onyengiye Fineface, NTA News.
The East-West Road in Rivers State is completely cut off at Abuja in Rivers State. To connect by associate from that section, passengers made through a pool of high current flood water that is said to have drowned a few people. Onyengiye Fineface again has his reports.
But this one has surpassed the one of 2012. I've not seen this type before, even before I was born and until now. And even my father, even when he was alive, he have never told me that is a flood even up to this extent. And let me say in the next 3 to 4 months now, it will become a hunger strike in our people because of the result of the flood.
Okwanala is an example of what the flood devastation means to people of Oshimili South local government area in Delta State.
But I'm one of the vigilantes. So most of the time when there is a flood disaster like this, some boys, some radical boys used to come in and buy some goods or even some items and property. So mostly that is the reason why I'm here.
What can you talk of? All is gone, no school. The school closed since July this year. No school, no hospital. The little hospital we have here, water is carried everywhere.
Life in Okwanala is a floating journey. It is lived one boat at a time. Okwanala is the story of resilient adaptation of a people determined to survive the flood despite the odds. Many have fled the community because of the height of the flood water. But some, like members of this family, have chosen to stay put because they say they have nowhere to run to. For many, the flood problem is the least of their worries. The bigger concern is how to survive and build back when the water recedes. On Nigerian fine face. NTA News.
I have with me in the studio Dr. Shadrach Akaloku, Chairman Environment Committee. So you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
You just watched the reports.
Yes.
Indeed, there is a challenge at hand. Now that the flood prediction is a reality, what is your assessment of the situation in terms of flood level and impacts?
Thank you very much. The point is that first, I am the chairman of the Environment Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association Omok branch. So it's not just every association. Now, to understand the impact, you must diagnose the problems. The problem of water management in Nigeria is historical, is constitutional, is legal. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 put water in the exclusive legislative list as item 64 and items 36 A, B, and D, A, B, and C, where the federal government is exclusively allowed to manage water, maritime, shipping, and all that. And that's why the problem is. Until we're able to democratize water and put it in the concurrent list so that states and other stakeholders can participate in the building of dams, in the management of the water cycle. Recall that before you get flood, you must have drought. And it is the inability of Nigeria to manage the water cycle between the period of extreme water, which is what we have now, and the period of water stress, which is called drought, which leads to farmers' clashes with herdsmen and all that. So each effort to solve that problem, or every effort to solve that problem, must begin with the democratization of water, so that everyone will have access. There are many other parts of the world, like Nigeria. I give example of the United States that created the Tennessee Valley Authority in 1933 by President Roosevelt. For 7 southeast United States of Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Mississippi, and all that. The Tennessee Valley Authority has extreme power to do total river management. Construction of canals, construction of channelization, river training, and power generation.
Okay, sir.
So that all the waters we have, I'm coming to something.
Okay.
The waters we're wasting are assets. This year we're going to waste about 400 billion cubic meters of water going into the Atlantic Ocean, which could have been harnessed for irrigation and for agriculture, for marine transportation, and all kinds of uses. Now we're allowing that to waste. At the end of this October, early November, there will be drought. Herdsmen will start harassing natives or those who are recovering from the flood disaster. So that's what you need to understand. And of course, the way the river network of Nigeria is arranged. 60% of the waters of the river Niger come from the Benue. The Benue comes from the mountainous area of the Cameroons, which again has the heaviest rainfall record in the whole of Africa. The Bushia, 10,000 milliliters per annual range. So all that water will empty, all the waters empty into the various rivers of the Donga, of the Katsina Ala, of the Taraba, of the Gongola, of the Mayo Kebi, Mayo Ine, Ngorore, and the Benue that finally comes to Lokoja. To receive the waters of the Niger, which again has a lot of tributaries. The Sokoto, the Rima, the Kaduna, the Gurara, the Shiroro.
Okay, sir.
And all these compound the problems downstream.
There's something that I want us to, from what you've said now.
Yes.
With the happenings around us, it is obvious that most of these victims and their governments are not prepared for what is happening.
Who prepares them? Yes, who prepares them? Flood is not earthquake. Earthquake can happen suddenly. So floods have warnings. As far back as January, February this year, Nigerian Meteorological Services Agency, NIMET, issued warning, followed by NISA, Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, and Federal Ministry of Water Resources and all that. All these are warnings telling people to be ready for the rains because climate change is a reality. and then the rains have come. We must prepare. Governments at all levels ought to know the areas, what we call the flashpoints, to begin to warn those people. But when you are indifferent, then you wait until the last minute. When the disaster is already here, we now start to look for palliatives. Palliatives don't come that way. A doctor must do a proper diagnosis of a patient before you can prescribe drugs. Now we are looking for drugs for a disease we don't know the cause. Now, what am I saying? Having done that, there must be collaboration across board. The federal government must be willing to remove the excess autocratic and authoritarian hold on water resources. You created river-based authorities that have no power, that cannot engage any program without the approval of the minister, without the approval of the president. Elsewhere where we copied, like the TVA, I told you, Nigeria copied from the TVA. There the government has no control. Washington has no hand in the operations of the TVA. So that way, the TVA can do its work. They do navigation. They build. Can you imagine a state like Alabama having 60 ports? Bayelsa can have 100 ports. Rivers can have 100 ports.
Okay, now so back to Nigeria.
Yes.
There's a situation at hand. But the World Food Program and the Food and Agriculture Organization have said the food security situation in countries such as Ethiopia, Nigeria, South Sudan, and Yemen is of great concern as thousands of hectares of farmlands have been washed off. As we speak, a 50 kg bag of rice costs between 42 to 52,000 naira. Now, what do you think the government can do to cushion the impending food
You see,
shortage?
again, we go back to the...
So there is problem.
Yes.
So
No. I understand what you're saying.
you also said something that we don't know of. So
Yeah.
what do you think is the problem? How can this be solved?
The problem is a capacity to manage the water cycle. I've just said here, if we can capture the more than 400 billion cubic meters of water that is washing away, those waters, if the government can do something to create a program of detaining those water in strategic dams and detention centers, where the water will be converted for agricultural use. So it's not enough to just cry about food scarcity. Food scarcity, of course, is a necessary evil that will come with an impending, with a catastrophic outcome of this type of flood. So what are we saying? You must prepare the people. Now, when the floods come, there are crops that grow within 3 months. For instance, rice growing. For those, I'm from Obebe Mandoni local government in River State, where the 4 rivers wash away our farmlands. The River Niger for 50 kilometers, the Orashi River, the Onita, and the Sombrero, all of them wash. And not only are they washing away farmlands, you see, the crises are in 2 different
Okay, on this note, I think we'll take a break from there.
Thank you.
Panorama will be right back after this initial time. Stay with us.
The vaccine offers hope for a safe country free of coronavirus. I urge all state governments, traditional and religious leaders to take the lead in the mobilization effort within their environment and spheres of influence. I similarly urge all eligible Nigerians to present themselves and be vaccinated in accordance with the order of priority already mapped out at the various authorized designated centers only.
Welcome back. We still have with us Dr. Akolopu. So now, I want you to certainly, so how do you think, what's the lasting solution to this problem?
I have answered it earlier. It's legal, it's constitutional. Nigeria should remove water from the stranglehold by the federal government, put it in the concurrent list, so that states can collaborate in building dams, in building earth dams. If you had a Jabi type of lake, 10,000 of them in Nigeria, there will be no flooding. Okay? Now the floods have come. It's not only about food. Let me give you information for free. Over 507 oil wells are in danger in Obele Mandoni, Ahoda East, Ahoda West today, because the flood has covered all the oil wells, flow stations, borrow pits, wellheads, Oil companies are shut in. NLNG would not get gas. Indorama will not get gas for the fertilizer project. Refineries. Now, that's what I'm saying. What we can do.
Okay, sir. Wait. Yes. Now, aside this, what can we do?
What have I been speaking?
Okay.
What we can do is not a question of prescribing. What we can do. I've said we have to manage the water cycle properly.
No, sir. This is what should have been done. Now, I'm thinking of now.
The danger is already here. The water is already flowing.
What we do now?
I'm challenging the Federal Ministry of Water Resources to, instead of looking for water bill that will be catastrophic, go and harvest all the 400 billion cubic meters of water that are flowing into the ocean. Preserve them for agricultural use, for navigation, for irrigation, for all the problems of water stress, so that nobody will migrate from one region to the other looking for water and grass. That's the challenge. So if we can do that as a nation, we may not achieve it in this season, but let it be a program of action, so that in subsequent years, governments will say, look, we need to tap and protect this natural vanishing resource.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming. So we hope to see more of you. Thank you. We've been speaking to Dr. Barrister Akoloku. The federal government says it has identified short and long term measures that will be taken by relevant agencies in mitigating flood disaster in the country. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Disaster Management has therefore commenced implementation of the National Flood Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan recently approved by the Federal Executive Council. Musa Aliu has the details.
Humanitarian crisis being faced in the country as a result of flood has been described as the worst in decades. Intense rainfall, dam spilling, and overflowing of rivers were identified as the major factors responsible for the flood that resulted to the death of about 500 people in 31 states. And here is the Permanent Secretary, Minister for Humanitarian, Disaster Management and Social Development, highlighting measures taken to mitigate flood-related disasters.
We are very much aware of what is happening, and we are prepared to reduce the impact, and we are prepared also to make sure that those states that have not been affected yet please get some relief.
On Lagdo Dam and its spilling, Dr. Gorozo said Nigeria and Cameroon had a memorandum of understanding on how the release of water from the dam would be done.
Necessary action is being taken, including bilateral talks almost on a daily basis. Beyond formal writing, we also have issues of communicating on telephone with them to make sure that things are coordinated.
He said NEMA has so far provided relief support to over 315,000 displaced persons across the flood disaster hotspots where state capacities have been overwhelmed. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
Come to the way of flood victims in the 4 affected local government areas of the states. But the visits the state task force on the management of flood to the areas. Ogedi Nyekwere reports that the task force members were led by its chairman, Dr. George Mweke, to some affected communities in Ahoda, Eastern Ogba, Egbema, Ndoni local government areas of River State. Ogedi Nyekwere completes this report.
The visit by the State Task Force on the management of flood to the affected local government areas is to carry out an on-the-spot assessment of the devastating effects of flood in the areas, interface with the victims for proper profiling and statistics, identify and determine how best to cushion the effects of the ravaging flood on the people. Chairman, River State Task Force on the management of flood, Dr. George Mweke, empathized with the people and assured them that the state government is doing all within its powers to see that they bring succor their way. Secretary of the Task Force, Inimi Agma, acknowledged that the situation is pathetic and calls for immediate intervention.
I want to assure the people of this area that Excellency is on top of the game. is about 5 steps ahead because it made provision for all that is needed to bring succor to these people.
I can tell you that it's impossible to drive on this road, and what we see here is very, very devastating. This committee will do all it can do to ensure that all the communities are reached.
Chairman of Ahoda West Local Government Area, Hope Ikiriko, and his Ahoda East counterpart, Benjamin Eke, as well as some community leaders, thanked the state government for the speedy intervention and appealed for permanent solution to the perennial flooding in the areas.
We are very grateful because this intervention is timely.
The whole of my kingdom, 36 communities and above, are under water.
The task force members were also in Oba Ebema Ndoni local government area, where they assured the victims of immediate response to their needs. The chairman revealed that the State Flood Management Task Force will be interfacing with the chairman of the affected local government areas, the Community Development Committee members of the affected communities, and other stakeholders to brainstorm on how best to solve the challenges. In Erema, Oba Ebema Ndoni local government area, Ogedinyekwere, NTA News.
On the occasion of the 2022 United Nations World Food Day, observed annually on October 16th, Nigerians have called on government to put in place infrastructure for food production to reduce hunger and malnutrition. This, they say, could be done with a move enabling environment for greater food production to meet rising demands as the population increases, coupled with impact of ravaging flood. Chidebere Onya reports that this year's theme, Leave No One Behind.
Nigeria is a country richly blessed with abundant natural and human resources that, if properly harnessed, can feed its people and export the surplus to other countries. Yet, it is experiencing food crisis both in terms of quantity and quality. Cases of malnutrition and poverty are growing by the day, as the food intake requirements of majority of Nigerians have fallen far below the international standards.
Food in market is too much. Before this yam, now 400, 357, now 1,700. We don't know where we they go.
It's really difficult for us to cope. Even we, the sellers, we don't feel good selling the goods, the amount we sell it, but that's the amount we bought it. We can't do otherwise.
Past efforts at improving food supply through agricultural production has not yielded the desired results, more thanks to several challenges faced by the agricultural sector.
Nigeria is so blessed that if we have to adopt agriculture, nobody will in fact look for people outside to come and work for us. That's how much we are blessed.
When you produce certain food, a farmer now are able to harvest and sell not more than 60% of his product. 40 goes as a waste. One, our climate, weather makes it impossible for us to get all that we need. So we need storage to store them. This is where government comes into play.
Observers say, for the country to have sustainable food security, food supply must keep pace with increasing population and urbanization.
You know, the way things are going, if the government does not come into these things, I don't know how Nigeria will be in the next few months to come.
This year, the World Food Day calls for action across sectors to make healthy and sustainable diets affordable and accessible to everyone. In Port Harcourt, Chidiebere Onya, NTA News.
In commemoration of this year's Global Month of Cancer Awareness, the Cross River State Government, in collaboration with Pink Africa Foundation and other partners, has conducted full body check, life-saving screening for prostate in men and breast cancer for women in Calabar, with a charge for people to be medically conscious of their lifestyles. Erica Ivy, who was with the team, now reports.
In order to increase the awareness regarding causes, prevention and treatment of breast cancer among women and men, the president and coordinator Pink Africa, Dr. Nchewiani, flagged off the work at the Millennium Park through Mary Slessor to Calabar Municipality ground, where stakeholders spoke on the issue.
My grandmother died from cervical cancer. I didn't know what it was. I said to myself, God gives me the ability. We will help as much as we can.
Every woman should check her breast, know how to do self-breast exams every month, 1 week after her menses.
To reduce the mortality rate in the country, the Director General Primary Healthcare Development Agency in the state and other medical experts encourage the people to visit hospitals for early detection and treatment.
For us as a government, we are indeed very committed to this fight.
Healthy diet, you're talking about more of fruits, more of vegetables, less of processed fruits.
Some survivors express gratitude to God and Pink Africa Foundation for creating the necessary awareness in the society.
I went for investigations, I treated on time, and I went all through the modalities of treatment.
Then during the process of lumpectomy, the lump was taken and tested, and we now discovered it was breast cancer. So I had to do a mastectomy. I did 18 chemotherapies and I did radiotherapy, 22 sessions in Lagos.
To stay free from cancer and maintain a healthy life, medical experts are advising Nigerians to be mindful of what they eat while making exercise part of one's lifestyle. In Calabar, Erika Evie, NTA News.
Next is sports.
We begin with football as the coach of the Nigerian under-17 women's side, the Flamingos, Bankole Olowokere, says the team will be more determined and focused when they take on Chile in their final group game on Monday at the FIFA's Women's World Cup in India. Flamingos, who suffered a 2-1 defeat in their opening group match against Germany, later bounced back to beat New Zealand 4-0 to remain second with 3 points in the group table.
You have to be careful because a step into the next stage is permanent. A step out of the tournament, so you have to be very mindful of that and then approach the game with caution but more focus and standing.
Ahead of the game on Saturday against Tanzania, the Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) has concluded plans for the Olympics Eagle to hit Dar es Salaam on Wednesday for the AFCON Under-23 first leg qualifying game. The team, led by coach Salisu Yusuf, has been training twice daily at the Lake Salami Stadium, Ibadan, preparatory for the encounter. To foreign football, 5 English Premier League matches will be decided Sunday as Aston Villa take on Chelsea. Leeds United welcome table toppers Arsenal as Manchester United host Newcastle. Other games will see Southampton taking on West Ham and Liverpool trade tackles with Manchester City. And finally, Team Nigerian cyclists at the 2022 World Track Cycling Championship have continued to impress with their timing in various events as they look to qualify for the 2024 Paris Olympics. Nigeria, with a previous time record of 5 minutes 24 seconds in the team pursuit, were 18 seconds less at the championship, while in the team sprint, Nigeria recorded 23 seconds less of the previous time of 55 minutes 64 seconds. With sports update, Oche Ngbedi, NTA News.
End of Panorama. Remember to join in the fight against rape and rapists. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon.